What's up guys? Today we are back on the set of Wheeler Dealer's Dream Car because over the next couple of days Mike Brewer and myself will be filming a special episode which you'll be able to see at the end of the series. We're also going to be talking about the Texas Grand Prix. So it really has become one of the firm favourites on the calendar, the US Grand Prix, from a driver's perspective when we look at the actual circuit, but also from everybody involved in the sport, because the city just comes alive when it's Grand Prix week. It's a proper party atmosphere. It's one of the places I really used to love going. And I think everybody else feels exactly the same, because it's one of those places that really embraces the fact that Formula One comes to town, puts on a festival, everything comes to life, and it's just a fantastic weekend for everybody involved. We're going to quickly talk about tyres while we're here. Because look, there's some here. Not quite the same things, but Pirelli are bringing exactly the same three compounds to the US Grand Prix that they brought to the Mexican Grand Prix last time out, the middle three of the range, but also, and uniquely for this race, they're going to be bringing two sets of the C4 compound for next year. So the 2020 compound that most people haven't tried yet, they will get an opportunity on Friday's FP1 and FP2 to run two sets of that C4, just to give them a bit of data collection, a bit of idea of what they will do to the car for next year. It's a really useful opportunity for all the teams to gather that data to feed back into the system that's currently working away on designing and manufacturing next year's cars. So I think you'll see a bit more running on Friday because of that, because people cannot afford to pass up the opportunity to not get out on track with these 2020 tyres being available for them. So that should be quite an interesting thing to watch. I think there's going to be, although the tyres are the same as we had in Mexico, they are going to behave very, very differently because of, well, first of all, the circuit's very different, but of course we're no longer at the altitude that we were up here in Mexico City as well, and we all know about the effects that had on the cars and the tyres. This time out though, the circuit's got a little mix of everything. It's got real fast flowing corners, it's got some tight and twisty bits, it's got some incline as well, and all of that means it's a great place to test new tyres, as in 2020 tyres, because the circuit puts the cars through a variety of different types of challenges. So it's a real mix. It's a great circuit for that reason. It's a mix of corners, a mix of challenges. From an engineering point of view, it sets up a number of different requirements from the car and from the driver. We'll have a look at those in a moment. So it's been a couple of months since we were in this garage and finished the main bulk of our filming. We're back here today doing a series of sort of pickups and little additions that they now need for the edit. But when we were here last time, it was the middle of the summer, and even then this workshop was pretty cold. Now it's bloody freezing. Right, so all of that was on Wednesday. Today it's now Thursday in the evening, and Mike and I have been filming all day long at an auction, a car auction house in Northamptonshire. We've been so busy I haven't had time to scratch my own arse, let alone record anything for this video. So we're going to finish off talking about the US Grand Prix before we then get into looking at the lap that I've already recorded on the Xbox, and then of course I've got that prize as ever to give away from the gpbox.com. So the US Grand Prix, we've talked about tyres. Let's talk about the circuit itself, because it has a number of unique characteristics. First of all, we've got to talk about that uphill section into turn one. From the start finish straight, you got this really steep incline, and it is really, really steep. If you try and run around the circuit, go jogging around the circuit, you suddenly realise just how much of a climb that is. And it means that you can brake incredibly late, much later than you normally would in a Formula One car, because of course you're going up the slope, gravity is assisting your stopping power at that point. But what it does mean is you really can't see the turning point at the top of the hill. You certainly can't see the apex of the corner, so you've got to be working that out through the course of the weekend, and then really trust in the brakes of the car, trust that you've got the right braking for the speed that you're going, trust that you're turning in at exactly the right moment, because you're relying on that turn-in to be able to then hit the apex that you need to hit to get the lap time to then run through to the following really fast, sweeping, flowing section. So turn one and the braking up to turn one is a really crucial part of this lap, and it's something the drivers will kind of build towards as the weekend goes on. It is really wide though, so it's a massive opportunity to make a lunge up the inside, particularly given that late braking effect, to try and make an overtake in the race. The circuit then goes through this really fast sector that's a little bit like Suzuka at the beginning, a fantastic part of the lap. Loads of runoff though, unlike Suzuka. Massive expanse of tarmac, which sort of encourages drivers to have a go, more so than perhaps at somewhere like Suzuka. It is quite a tricky circuit for following, because of the fact that most of the corners, or lots of the corners, lead from one directly into another. It's quite hard to stay close to the car in front because of the problems we all know that we have with the aerodynamics. You get behind a car, you lose your aerodynamic downforce. And because these corners come thick and fast to each other, if you're in that turbulent air, you start to drop back because you can't maintain the grip levels, you can't maintain tyre temperature, and you start to kill your tyres much more quickly than you normally would. It might be interesting actually with tyres to see how they last, because we saw last time out in Mexico how the same tyre compounds, how they behaved quite differently to the way that people expected, particularly that hard tyre, just how long that was able to go in the race. Now, yes, it's a different circuit, but perhaps they'll be using some of that knowledge now gained, and depending on temperatures, of course, this might all be irrelevant, but using some of that knowledge that the hard tyre was working especially well, perhaps we might see people start to think of that as a more viable option in the race, pushing towards a one stop. So that's going to be quite interesting as well. The setup is a kind of a real balancing act, as it always is, about the high speed aerodynamics you need to get through that fast flowing first part of the lap, but then of course have the stability to get through some of the tighter, twistier parts later on. It's going to be a real compromise between how you balance the different sectors of this lap with your aerodynamic setup and of course the mechanical setup as well. So lots of work to do for the teams and drivers on Friday during the free practice sessions, but I always find that really interesting to see how people are doing stuff, how they're working it out, how their minds are working, given the information they're getting back from putting the laps in. So that should be good. It's always just a great event, this one. You know, as I said before, the city around the circuit just comes alive as a party, but even at the event we have massive concerts going on. It's just a massive party atmosphere, and they really do a great job. So massive respect to the organisers at COTA, because they have embraced Formula One in America more so than I think anybody's ever done in the past, and built it into this absolute must-see event for Formula One fans out there. Is it going to be hit by another event joining, in the US, potentially Miami, for example? I don't know, but what they have done is they've set themselves, or set everybody, a benchmark of how a Formula One event should be run. So they deserve a massive amount of respect for doing that. They've put an awful lot of money into it, but they have, in doing so, developed something that I think Formula One fans love, Formula One drivers love, the teams love. So let's hope that continues for long into the future. Okay, I think that's probably about all we got time for, and all that there is of interest ahead of the race. But I did, before I came away, record a lap on the Xbox, my traditional very average lap, but hopefully it gives you a real impression of these blind corner entries, that real steep uphill, and some of the nuances of this very unique and special racetrack. Let's have a look. Here we go. Now, I've chosen a different viewpoint. So this is the driver's viewpoint inside the cockpit for this lap, and there's a very good reason for that. Here we go, along the start finish straight, pit lane to the left-hand side this time because it's an anti-clockwise circuit, and look at this. The most famous part, perhaps, of this circuit of the Americas is this uphill climb towards turn one, and the reason I've chosen this particular view from the cockpit is it just shows you just how blind the entry to this corner is. You're looking for a braking point, you're looking to pick out a marker somewhere during the practice sessions, and then you're hitting your brakes and turning in utterly blind at the top of that crest, hoping that you're going to clip the apex perfectly. Because then, once we get out of there, we come into this really brilliant, fast-flowing section, which the drivers love, a little bit like we've had, in fact, the last two races. Look at this, how the car dances from one side to the other, flowing if you get it right. Just like we had it in Japan at the S's, we had it also in Mexico in that sector in the middle of the track as well. This is what drivers love. And it's about the car is dancing from one side to the other, throwing its weight from one side to the other, which you have to control with the suspension. You want to a sort of reasonably stiff roll stiffness in the car, so it doesn't wobble around and wallow, tipping the car from one side to the other as you go through there at maximum speed. There's a little lift, perhaps a dab on the brakes into some of these, but pretty much it's about getting the car in the groove, hanging onto that line, and then finding your way through here as quickly as possible. Tiniest bit of understeer or oversteer will just pitch you off. Look at this, another blind crest. Just coming over this little crest here, and you can't see. I've got the green guidelines on here, but of course in the car for rear you don't have that. Again, you're blind over the corner looking for the apex. You can't see until you get over the crest, and then you clip it and run down the hill. And it's quite a steep hill to this part here. Jump on the brakes, turn in, and then we go through into a second DRS zone just up here. That big building on the right hand side is the main stage. I saw who did I see there the other season? I saw Stevie Wonder there a couple of seasons ago. Really, really good. Right, here we go. Big stop then, and turn in here. Clip in the apex, really easy to understeer off over the curves at this point. And then we come into this part here. Again, it's all about getting the car stop-start through this section. And then we fast through here, flowing through here, just clipping that apex. Turning and braking at the same time into this one, which is really quite difficult and upsets the balance of the Formula 1 car. And then we're back out again, running over the curves. Really fast section once more, where you're desperately relying on the aerodynamics of the car to hold you to the racetrack. The tiniest little slip of the tyres, if they want to give up just a little bit, and you are off, completely offline. And here we come then, all the way through to the final corner, final part of the lap. Get this right, get the traction down out of here, and that will seal your lap as we enter the DRS zone once more and back up that famous hill. Here we go, let's have another look. Right, there you go. Now, as ever, I have a prize to give away from the gpbox.com. If you haven't seen their stuff yet, I know I say this a lot, but go check out their site. It's all linked in the description anyway, but check it out because they have some amazing stuff on there. So if you get 5 minutes, just go and have a look through what they've got on there. You might be surprised. This week, they've given me a special prize from an artist that many of you have seen before on this channel, a guy called Joel Clark. And I think you're going to like this one. I love it. In fact, I don't really want to give it away, but I am kind of bound to do so. So check this out. I think you're going to really like it. There you go. What do you think of that? I think it looks absolutely awesome. When it's framed, it will be stunning. And you can win that very simply. All I want you to do is share this video on Twitter. Now, yes, I know some of you don't have Twitter, but look, that's the platform I'm choosing this week. So if you want to be in with a chance to win it, all you need to do is click the share button underneath this video, put it on Twitter, and make sure you use the hashtag GPBUSA. Hashtag GPBUSA. It'd be great if you tagged in Joel Clark and of course the GP box as well. I'll link all of that in the description to make it very, very simple. But that's all you got to do. And then on Monday, I'll pick out a winner at random from all the correct entries. Go do it. It's worth it. It doesn't cost you anything. And you might end up with this beautiful piece of artwork. Right, that's it. I know that in the last hour or so, while I've been working, filming today, they have released the press release about 2021, and now I'm not skirting over it in this video. This is a sort of bespoke video about the US Grand Prix, so we will definitely address that, but it will probably come in Monday's Ask Elvis video. So ask whatever questions you want to ask about 2021, about this weekend, whatever it is, but use the hashtag Ask Elvis, and that will form the basis of Monday's video. So if there's something specific you want to know about what was announced today, or what we think of the car, anything to do with that, pop it in the questions for Monday's video, whenever you like, wherever you like. Just use hashtag Ask Elvis and I'll find them. That's it for now, guys. I hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy the US Grand Prix, and I'll see you on Monday.